As part of our Golden Years series this week, we're taking a deeper look at how a lack of social connection between younger and older Americans is impacting mental health and contributing to the loneliness epidemic.
Yeah, the term is called intergenerational connectedness. And our next guest warns that we're now seeing the impacts of living in one of the most age-segregated periods in modern history. Joining us now, licensed clinical psychologist Michelle Chung. Michelle, great to have you. So why do you think there is this lack of social connectedness between younger and older adults, especially when we have so many ways to be connected?
Well, like you said, Vicki, we are living in this age where we are segregating ourselves by age, right? There's the seniors that are living in their own homes. The adults are just really busy. Kids are overscheduled, and we are separated geographically from each other in a way that we have never been before. And when you see that happening, the normal day-to-day interactions that we would normally have in our village, you know, in the beginning of when humans were still hunting and gathering, all those normal connections that we would have are completely gone.
So the villages are more spread out now. We're trying to bring them back together. What are the psychological benefits, both for older and younger folks, of being able to interact in person more often?
So the really amazing thing about this part is that there are benefits on both sides. Yeah. The seniors, a lot of studies are seeing that even their gray matter, their brain volume actually expands and becomes bigger. It definitely helps with dementia and memory loss. And also, there's a way in which they're constantly being shown novel things, right? They need to learn different slang, interpret different micro-emotions. There's a way in which they have to stay on their feet and keep thinking. And that's so amazing. And not only for the seniors is that wonderful, because it also shows that it decreases levels of depression. And with decreased levels of depression, you also see physical changes in the seniors. They're starting to get out more, move more, and physically you start to see advantages too.
What about for the younger generations?
For the younger generations, one of the most amazing facts that I have seen is that there is a co-regulation that happens between a senior who is more slow-paced, who has more patience, a more lived life and experience, and when they are actually in sync in person with a younger person and connected, there is a way in which there's a calmness that is almost borrowed from the senior that is, we don't see that much, right, in our younger generation.
Real quickly, the technology of it all, is that beneficial in some ways and also sort of separating people and others?
I love this question because it is both. There's a way in which technology is absolutely driving us away from face-to-face contact and interactions. Sure, we spend a little bit more time on social media than we want, or YouTube. However, there's also a way in which it brings us all together. Being able to call and FaceTime in a way that we've never have before. And it's just absolutely a little pro and con there.
It's so true. I know it is for our family as well. Michelle Chung, thank you so much. And be sure to tune in tomorrow for our next Golden Years segment on protecting yourself from scams.
Keep it right here. You're watching Daily.
Here on NBC News Daily, we are continuing our week-long series, Golden Years, all about what seniors need to know to get the most out of life.
Today, we're looking at the mental health benefits of older and younger generations interacting, connecting, and even living together. Joining us now is Michelle Chung. She's a clinical psychologist and founder of In Practice Psychology. Good to see you again, Michelle.
So good to be here.
Let's just start with, why is it so important for the generations to be able to talk to each other?
Well, this is one of those things that it was built into our societal structure, and over time has just slowly become more and more age segregated. The older seniors are living on their own. The adults are just busy doing their thing, and kids are overscheduled, right? So it's just those small little interactions that we're supposed to have in our day-to-day are just not happening anymore.
So to that end, how do we make these intergenerational connections happen more regularly? Where should we be going? What should we be doing?
You know, this is such an intentional process because there are so many distractions in our lives, things like the screens that are pulling us away generally from face-to-face interpersonal interactions. And there's other things like just the geographic difference, right? And the distance that we can't really reach each other in the way that we can. this is where I have to say where technology can be great. You know, you could video call or FaceTime each other and spend those little moments. But this is really a challenge that we have to do for ourselves to intentionally make that a priority. You know, I always say, instead of scrolling, you know, for 10 minutes, why don't you just pick up a call and say, pick up the phone and say, I'm going to connect with an older parent,
maybe
an
a
older
grandparent,
a neighbor, an older neighbor.
Yeah, I've encouraged my college-age kids to keep in touch with grandparents on both sides for that reason. It really helps everybody. Can you give us some more examples? Because I think it might feel to some people like it's hard to bridge that generational gap. What else could we be doing?
Yeah, and what are the benefits?
Absolutely. So one of the benefits that I think are so important for the older generation, but there's also benefits for the younger generation. But let's start with the older. The older generation, we're seeing brain volume growing. The actual brain is getting stronger, memory stronger. There's the loneliness epidemic that we are also finding a solution for, right? And so there's the benefits to the older seniors, there's the benefits to the young kids. One of the most amazing factors that I've seen is that the research is showing that when a young person who is just a part of that fast-paced world sits and is in the presence of an older person who is slower, you know, has a bigger life perspective and stories to tell, there is a co-regulation that happens. It's almost like a calming effect that just kind of they bring to one another. And how wonderful and beautiful is that? Just by being next to each other.
And it can be simple. You mentioned already, and we have a list we can put on the screen, you mentioned scrolling. Instead of scrolling, tell a story or get a story from someone older who you know. What are some other things that you could do to kind of bridge that?
You know, even something as simple as being able to go for a walk around the corner. Or the other thing that's wonderful is to be able to do something together, right? Find a way in which you can teach each other something, whether it's learning a story or even a skill, right? Building something together, cooking, recipes that the older generation can pass down to you. These are all small, what seem almost meaningless in some ways, but are really important ways to be able to weave and to find that connection.
Really, really good tips. And a reminder, you can do that even if you're living together. You should still lean into those activities day
Absolutely.
to day.
And they call that the micro connections. Those micro connections are the things that are extremely important.
Michelle Chung, always good to have you. Thank you.
Yeah, and we got a lot more news ahead.
You're watching NBC News Daily.